my goodness, it is so wonderful to be back here. Thank you so much for coming out. And on this week of all weeks, we had 3 days of back-to-back strikes. You were probably teleworking at home, all cozy, but you decided to put on some pants, brave the cold, and come and support live theater. Thank you so much. Now, let's talk about the strikes real quick because they were protesting the Belgian budgetary plan, which included a lot of tax hikes, namely on things such as music festivals, hotels, the movies, basically everything that makes life worth living. And interestingly, one of the only things getting a tax decrease is non-alcoholic drinks. Great. Because the only thing better than being bored is being bored and sober. Speaking of killing all the fun, we also learned that some of the city's most iconic nightclubs will soon be closing, which means we're getting closer to answering that age-old question. How many people can you fit into Café Belga? Meanwhile, back in France, President Macron is still facing an uphill battle towards creating a stable government, because as the saying goes, if you want different results, keep hiring the same guy. Of course, that's not the only thing that has been in the news with France. We all saw the Louvre heist, which was both amusing and impressive. What was most impressive was the fact that it all happened under 8 minutes, which, interestingly, is about half a current French Prime Minister's term. Speaking of short-lived prime ministers, because of the recent Dutch elections, we will soon be saying goodbye to one of Europe's funniest named leaders, Dick Schoof. But then again, the parties all have to agree on a coalition, so it might take a little longer than that. Just 1 or 2 years. But don't worry, Belgium. I don't think anyone is going to take your record. Remember? Some people remember. I also remember. But the most likely next Dutch Prime Minister is probably going to be D66's Rob Jetten, seen here with some strong senior associate of McKinsey vibes. I'm sure he's going to get along great with President von der Leyen. I also like to think of him as the frugal Pedro Sanchez. But whatever happens, it's nice to know we will soon be saying goodbye to Geert Wilders, who can now resume his day job running the Galactic Empire. You can't unsee it once you see it. Now in other news, a cop recently turned 30, and as any 30-year-old can tell you, was having a bit of an existential crisis, wondering, what is my purpose? Is anyone paying any attention? Am I having any impact? But don't worry, cop. As anyone over the age of 30 can tell you, it only goes downhill from there. And in Brazil, it did. In fact, a fire breaking out at one of the cop pavilions really does sum up the state of the world in 2025. Now, in equally depressing news, the Russia-Ukraine negotiations are going along, and the updates we have so far is that apparently Trump wants to unfreeze the Russian assets, but for America's gain. His golf buddy Steve Witkoff has been coaching the Russian side, and von der Leyen thinks we have a wonderful starting point for negotiations, mainly because she's been invited. She still has to sit at the kids' table, though. In slightly happier news, though, Zohran Mamdani was elected mayor of New York City. Yes, it was wonderful news, especially for us here in Brussels who wonder what it must feel like to have a city government. And one mayor instead of 19. And as if that wasn't enough, after months of shit-talking each other, we saw this unlikely duo living it up, laughing it up in the Oval Office, looking like they were genuinely enjoying each other's company. Trump even helped him with the hard questions. And I don't know about you, but for a moment, it felt to me like there was a glitch in the Matrix, and we got a glimpse of the happier timeline. I wonder, what other rivalries could be mended in this timeline? Maybe Taylor Swift and Kanye West? Hungary and the rule of law? Von der Leyen and Michelle? I guess we'll never know. But we do have a show to put on, and before that, folks, please sit back and relax while we tell you about a brand new EU initiative. Enjoy the Schuman Show, everybody.